similar story. We actually get a similar tale out of the Celestine prophecies and the ideas of synchronicity guiding us to a platform that brings us to another dimension. We have this throughout the tales of our ancient mystics of passing through the veil, going to other dimensions. We have all the ideas of magic, the Enochian magic, contact with angelic beings, extra-dimensional communication. Even Aleister Crowley and his contact with the Was. Now we have Stanley Fulham, and I honestly have not received the full story nor read his 352-page book on the arrival on 1013. Wouldn't that be something? Just a few short days from now, aliens arrive on the lawns of all the capitals of the world. A V scenario coming to life. Now, this seems to be coming from channeled information and, once again, some sort of Ashtar command, if you will. I don't know Stanley's full story, being an ex-NORAD officer, and I listened to some of his UFO stories in his interview, but not being able to read his data or his information to understand why he had predicted 1013, and of course coming out and saying, as I did with my 1013 prediction, that here I'm putting my credibility on the line. And I thought that was somewhat truthful. I felt he was really meaning what he was saying there. Now, my 1013 prediction did come true, as I had predicted the next 9/11 to be on 1013, and it turned out to be the financial collapse. And you can go to freemantv.com and check out 1013 bigger than 9/11, which was the headline in Austin, Texas. If you go and listen to the interview I did with Alex Jones on that, where he had told me don't make any specific predictions, and I said no, I really had come on your show to do that very thing, because I did not do that with my 9/11 prediction. So I went on with Alex Jones, told him about 1013 and how I felt that was the next selected target date. And if you go watch this now on YouTube, that very portion of the interview has no audio. They say this is due to copyright offenses by the music. I went and checked the rest of the interview, and there's music on each one of those episodes. But of course, you can get the whole interview I did with Alex Jones, or Alex Jones did with me, there on the article, 1013, bigger than 9/11. So wouldn't it be curious if this actually occurred on such a symbolic date, whereas this is also Chris Carter of the X-Files production company title, 1013. I made this. You know the story. Would this be another key attention grabber for Illuminati type dissection? I mean, when I was looking at crop circles and started to realize that I had found every corporate logo that I had deciphered in my corporate logos film in a crop circle, and finding these same sacred geometries, blazing pentagrams, eyes in the pyramid and everything else, you've got to wonder. Are we run by extraterrestrials? Now, it would, to me, make perfect sense that these magi, these priestcraft, would be of extraterrestrial origin. Zechariah Sitchin makes it somewhat clear in his, one single sentence that he threw into the 12th planet, saying that King Hiram of Tyre was one that was taken to the land of the gods. Now, King Hiram of Tyre is a major player in the Masonic rituals, because it's King Hiram of Tyre that brings Hiram Abiff, this strange, mysterious man who has the technological know-how to build a temple to house the Ark of the Covenant. And this is the very man that every Mason pretends to be when he goes through the rituals of Freemasonry. But what are we finding in these rites and rituals as we find this priestcraft, like the Freemasons and the Jesuits, performing rites and rituals that seem to put them in contact with otherworldly beings, or opening themselves up to possession? I've witnessed the soulless look in many Masons through numerous rituals. Perhaps it's the boredom. I don't know. I haven't performed the rituals myself. I've studied them hard. I understand them, or at least their actions. But without actually participating, it's kind of like trying to describe to somebody what it would be like to take psychedelics. You can't really do it. But here now we have a man, Anthony Kane, saying that this consciousness shift is coming. Meanwhile, we have Stanley Fulham coming forward saying that arrival is imminent next week, and people are wondering what's going to happen tomorrow for 10/10. That's all this. You're listening to Free Zone on Oracle Broadcasting. We are starting the Matrix News Network, and I'm really excited about this. We're going to take it to a whole new level. We're going to push the hard questions. It's going to be Jamie and Freeman as your host. The Matrix News Network, new website to be coming soon with an intro by Sentient Mind on YouTube. It's going to be a group, wonderful effort. We're about to have the studio set up. We're almost there. And I'm really excited. And to start the show with the Matrix News Network, since there is all this ET news going on, I decided to bring on Jim Marrs, who will be a fantastic guest in this light. And also Dr. Michael Sala will return from exopolitics.com. And we are going to explore this extraterrestrial agenda, the alien agenda, as Jim Marrs' book calls it, and see what we think about all of this. Because it's such a strange time to be alive, and so many of us that have been in this UFO information, as I have for our entire existence. You know, Time Warner was pumping it out to us. We were getting it in our Hollywood features. We are the extraterrestrial generation. There's no doubt about it. It's been fed to us, and I've eaten it up, and many of us have. And so as each time we seem and expect some sort of disclosure, we are always somewhat disappointed. My first major disappointment was, of course, when old Governor Fife came out, and I thought, here it is. You know, here's the government official coming to tell us about ETs hovering over Phoenix, Arizona. And no, you know, he brings his grade out, his aide dressed as a gray alien, and laughs at everyone about it. And each time as I waited, but yet at the same time would see on CNN or the national press conference like what just happened, and they have the full disclosure, and I'm sitting there as a child just eating it up going, oh my God, you know, they're telling us about bases on the dark side of the moon. They're telling us about craft that are beyond comprehension. They're splitting into two parts. They're sucking up jets. They're bringing in all kinds of just crazy ideas and thoughts in my head. And each time all of us are left wanting, left hoping that there's going to be some sort of social consciousness change in this extraterrestrial world. We're all hoping that the world's all of a sudden going to wake up to a new reality, and the humdrum existence that we're being pushed into would somehow collapse and disperse, and we could live in an exciting world that has potential, even the potential of living forever and traveling the stars. But this doesn't happen. The information drips out. It does. They've released this over and over again until it's boredom, until humanity is looking at it. In Mexico, there's another UFO. There's no more excitement about it. Governments are releasing all their UFO documents left and right on the internet. And where does it really get us? I mean, I don't know that I've ever read a similar description of a UFO. In all of the UFO research I've done, the craft are just multitude. So many variations, so many thoughts and insights. And then we look at every video footage of it, of these different craft, and you can see hundreds, if not thousands, of UFOs. I have a bunch in that Obama alien invasion video I put on YouTube, which is on autoplay right now for the front page. Craft that can't be described, craft that can't be explained. If you tried to describe some of those ones that I showed, well, the ones that I show right at the beginning with Obama talking look to me to be the closest thing to what I saw with the V-shaped craft in Utah. Now, in reviewing the disclosure conference from Stephen Greer, they mentioned that Area 51 had actually been moved to Utah. So I thought, oh, well, you know, there's my answer, because I certainly did not feel that was an otherworldly craft. And it was identical in description from the craft that they saw in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, one thing that was very curious for me was when I'm filming this craft, and of course none of it came out on film. I'm looking very hard at it, but I'm trying to see now. What we saw was a hourglass-shaped light, orange light, in the apex of the V, and then four what appear to be like plasma balls holding up the V shape. And after we witnessed this, and I started reviewing it with my friends, which I filmed their attempt to discuss this craft that had just flown over. I figured if I couldn't get the craft on film, I'd at least get the reaction on film. And my friend's reaction was so curious to me because they immediately went into debate mode. They immediately tried to explain what they had seen as if they had someone in the car that was challenging them, as if all three of us didn't just witness the same thing. But in witnessing the same thing, we all had different descriptions. I was trying to tell him, most of us decided that there was actually a craft above the orbs. But what appeared to us was just four orbs with an orangish hour-shaped glass orb in front. But they had moved so uniformly that we were certain this craft was there, but we couldn't see it. But then once we were done and we started to discuss it, my friend says, well, did you see the little twirly things that were following behind it? And I said, no. And I didn't really believe him when he was telling me about this, because I thought I would have seen it. But I was concentrating on my camera quite a bit, trying to figure out why it's not showing up. The camera's not much good in the dark. But when I listened again to the Phoenix, Arizona descriptions of the craft, they discussed these little twirly craft or orbs that were following in the wake of this V-shaped craft that they saw hovering over their city. When you see what they show in the film clip of the Phoenix or Arizona lights, Phoenix lights, that's not the same thing as the craft. It just isn't the same unless it comes out different in photography. I don't know. So we have this Area 51 right there in Utah, and where is that but Mormonville, right? Right where Joseph Smith went to set up his extraterrestrial cult and bring about the occult nature of the extraterrestrial connections. Battlestar Galactica is the Mormon creation myth. That is the Mormon story. There's so much to this story. I wonder if we'll be able to cover it all tonight. There'll be more free zones. Maybe we found that rocket propulsion is not the way to travel the universe. Maybe it's a little more esoteric and anti-material than we originally thought. So we're looking forward to the STS-134, the Shuttle Endeavour. It's getting ready to send up the AMS, or the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. It'll be the 133rd flight of NASA. But now, this also being the last of the space shuttle missions, unless Atlantis rises again, which they have threatened. Well, what's being described as one of the most complex space scientific instruments ever built is on its way to the International Space Station to seek out the dark universe. So perhaps as the television came into creation through their esoteric attempts at making the other unseen seen, you know that television, the cathode ray tube, actually came through occult experiments to try and contact the other side and make it visible. Now we seek the anti-universe, or the dark universe. This $2 billion alpha magnetic spectrometer coming from CERN arrived at the Kennedy Space Center